How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of In the Sand podcast. We're excited for our faithful listeners who always come out. And then we also excited for our new listeners who's coming out. I know to check out our amazing coach that we have today. So I'm excited to have Coach Hope Adams on the podcast. I got to start off saying something good about everybody. And again, this podcast is to spotlight coaches, but also bring a positivity and a lot of negative things that's going on in the world. But Coach Adams, she is a game changer. And what I mean by that is that she has so much influence on both sides of the men's game and as a women's game for our junior colleges here in the state of Mississippi, but also just doing great things on a recruitment trail that we're going to talk about a little bit later, taking Mississippi Gulf Coast community college to different heights and different levels and just excelling in her career. And just from our few just interactions, can really tell that she is very business-like. She's very organized, she's very detailed, and she always gives you her best foot forward. Like, we've been trying to set this interview up, and because she was out there doing her thing, I'm talking about, man, making plays. I kind of stole Deion Sanders' thing, but out there making plays to get young ladies to come play in her program. So I'm excited just to learn about it. I'm excited to talk with her, and I'm just appreciative of the time that I have because, again, when you can get anybody who's doing it at her level just to give you a little bit of time to grow, learn, and get educated about the game of basketball, you got to be appreciative. So I'm excited for Coach to be on. So, Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Yes. I mean, Coach, like we talked about earlier, we really appreciate just your time because, again, during this time of the season, right when things are kind of wrapping up, you're trying to be able to kind of end recruitment, trying to start off the summer. There's a lot of things that go on in between that time. And so that's just an amazing, amazing thing that you are doing that. And so, Coach, while we're here, kind of change the script up a little bit. Coach, kind of talk to us a little bit about just like your daily grind that you have as you are kind of getting prepared for the kids to kind of go home for the summer. Talk about some things that you have or maybe doing or get them prepared when they come back on campus in July, because I don't know if a lot of people realize that, and I didn't necessarily realize it until we talked, because usually during that time you see other I guess I would say Division I programs maybe and other different programs that kind of have their kids on campus throughout the whole summer. But sometimes certain schools, you have a certain time period where you got them on campus. You want to be able to give them some time off, things of that nature. And I know most coaches may be like me. Sometimes I'm afraid, and probably not afraid, but I just really hate to be away from my kids because, the accountability piece of getting it in every single day makes a difference, Coach. So kind of walk us through that, especially on the college level, of how you kind of manage that and put your kids and yourself in a program in a great light to be prepared for next season.
So basically, just to kind of answer the question as far as when you're ending season. So of course, basketball is year round. I think the easiest part about it is that when they come back in the summer in July, you basically have them from July to March locked in. Because you start that process in July of really preparing to go win that championship. So it's all about trying to get to March, trying to get to postseason. Well, when you come out of basketball season, you're kind of going into that spring break period. This year, we're really big on, hey, go take some time and take a mental break, and as well as take a physical break. So we gave them about 2 weeks off because our spring break ran into that time as well. And then that first week of April, we picked it back up. So we've been back on the grind for about 5 weeks as far as in the weight room. Of course, the off season is all about fixing whatever you were struggling with in season. And it was so basically polishing up some of those things that each individual struggled with. I can't really talk about that process without bringing up my assistant coach, Coach Barty. She handles all our individual workouts as far as what you see on the floor, the product that you see on the floor. That's 110% Coach Barty. She's very detailed when it comes to things like that. She had this thing where she say, "Hey, I can't stand a unprepared child," and so she has each of our players well prepared, and whatever they're struggling. She don't bring them in and we're going to work on what you're already good at. She gets them outside their comfort zone. She wants them to be very versatile. So when they hit the floor, they're confident. They're confident in their game and what they can do, and what they couldn't do. And so to see how young ladies have grown over this year, this has been our first year with us, see how the program has really taken another leap, and where we're trying to go with our program. She's added a lot of knowledge, a lot of wealth, and she's a really hard worker as far as what we want to be known as, we want to develop. And that's what we take pride in. And she takes pride in that, and that's what she's bringing to our program. And so right now they're getting ready to go back home for about a month and a half because it's summer. So the dorms in Cab closed down, and then we'll bring them back that second week of July. And then from basically July into March, we're on the grind. We're ring chasing, as that's kind of the term that we use to just keep them focused. But every moment from the day they step on campus and we start weights and individuals and conditioning, it's all about getting to March every single moment. But of course, we take it one day at a time. Gonna have some good days, gonna have some bad days, but we get to keep them locked in for about 8 to 9 months there.
Coach, that's major. Now, did you say your assistant coach is it Coach Barty?
Yes.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was preparing for this interview. I was watching some of the things y'all were doing in skill development, and I'm watching it and I see the energy, and I'm like, who is this person out here really getting it? And you can tell, and you can look at her movement in and out the drills. You can look at the communication. And one thing that you do see, and people may say, well, that's just for video. I look at things bigger than what you normally see. I try to look past the obvious, but you can tell the rapport is there because you can't fake that. You can put something together, but when kids are giving their best foot forward and they're going at it, that's amazing. So again, I'm glad that you really shouted it out, and it says a lot about you because you could have started off with you, but you gave credit to where credit is due, and that's one thing that I do appreciate you about you, coaches, because you realize that it's not about you. Like if you follow your social media or you look at your the girls or the women's account, basketball account, you can tell that if nobody just knew that you were the coach, nobody would know it because it's not about you. It's about promoting everybody else, because in the end, you'll get your shine. So that's one thing that I do like, Coach. Talk to me about this, Coach. Again, I always wanted to play college ball, never had the opportunity. So I'm gonna let you kind of help me with this. So when a kid is moving in July and they're coming from any and everywhere, talk to me about the first few days or the first few weeks, because I can imagine if I'm a college kid, I'm away from home. I know that it's kind of different. I don't necessarily know these other people that are here with me, which are my teammates. I'm learning to be around coach. I'm learning the routine. I got to live in a dorm. I had to do boom, boom, boom. I had to do so many different things. How do you make a kid feel comfortable? Because again, college is an adjustment in and of itself, but then also playing college basketball at a very high level is different. So kind of walk us through that process for those who may not have been as fortunate as yourself, to be able to play basketball on the next level. How does that process work, and what does that look like?
I will say this: when we're recruiting and we're building that rapport with our recruits, the first thing we say, hey, this is going to be tough. Coach Barty and myself, we both feel strongly about running our program as close to a Division I program as possible. Of course, it's only 2 of us, and so we got a limited amount of hands. But now that we have added that strength and conditioning coach, that opens us up a little more to be more free with our time as far as basketball. And so we basically just tell them, hey, this is going to be tough. She sits down and she has every part of their day broken down. So right now, we basically been working on their summer schedules. She's gotten the summer schedules. She's already figuring out what time your individual going to be, what time you have weights, what time we have conditioning, what time you have study hall. And so the main thing, especially with the incoming freshmen, is that we schedule their day. Their day is scheduled out. Fall, spring, summer, they know exactly what's going on. I think we figured out is that when you're coming in as an incoming freshman and you never really had that amount of freedom before, because technically you're just now moving from home, And I think the biggest mistake in the past we made was that we told them the times they had to be there, but we weren't really just locked into the schedule. And so now they have a detailed schedule. We let them know what time they got to go to study hall during their free time. We let them know what time they have individual workouts. We let them know what time team workouts are. Then you have to go to a team study hall. So I think as far as being very structured and being really disciplined, it makes the process easier for, especially for our incoming freshmen. Because when you get to college, it's another level of training, and a lot of them have not been pushed that way before. And so mentally, we really have to be there. We have to keep them encouraged. We have to motivate them, but at the same time, being tough on them so that we can really push them to a place that they've never been before. And so really that first 4 weeks, our focus is it's breaking into their mentality to really figure out, hey, how bad do you really want this? And we're going to make it tough as possible. But within that, making, that part of it tough, we love, 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 love on them a lot. And so when you looked at that video, you mentioned that rapport. My assistant coach, as well as myself, we are tough coaches. We're gonna get the best out of you. Like we're not gonna let you slack when you're in between those lines. We're just not. That's not who we are. It's not in our DNA. And that's mainly because we're very competitive. But once we walk out there off that court, my door stay open, her door stay open. They'll hang around the gym sometime an extra 30 minutes to an hour, just talking to her or talking with myself. It's because we build that relationship, because we understand in order to really get the best out of a kid, you got to build that relationship. So what I would say is, with us having the relationship, make the transition easy for them. And also providing that structure and that discipline is also allowing them to kind of understand what they're about to face without them having to figure that out, by themselves.
Coach, that's major, and I hear that word again. Preparation is key, and to me, just listening to that kind of settles my nerves. I'm pretending like I'm playing, but if I can go into something and I already know what is planned for me, that does make it easier. Maybe because I'm so detail oriented, like that makes a difference. But I can imagine with our generation of kids, if you just let them be, and I think even when we were growing up, you just let us just go at it. We gonna go at it. Excuse me. We're probably just gonna make up some different things. So I do like that, Coach. I got another question. I know I haven't even introduced you for real. I ain't got to go your story, but I like to learn. Coach, as high school coaches, we say this all the time. We always say, well, we got to prepare you all for college. It's not going to be like this in college. It's XYZ, XYZ. But Coach, as high school coaches, I can be honest, I don't really think I think we try our best to prepare for college, but to be honest, I think we fall short of the mark, and not because we are not good coaches, but it's kind of hard to prepare a kid, because most of the time you're going to have one, maybe two, maybe three kids that are going to play at that level. So I don't know if we do a real good job of preparing them for that level. I think we try to challenge them. I think we try to do the conditioning in the weight room, but at the same time, it's just not the exact same schedule. So, Coach, what would be some things that I know a lot of high school coaches are listening, junior high, middle school, other colleges are listening. What can we do as high school coaches to prepare them a little bit better for the game? Because I want to say, Coach, I think you spoke at the clinic in Jackson a couple of years ago at the MAC clinic, and some other coaches just talking about how a lot of our high school young ladies and young guys are not necessarily prepared academically, athletically, physically, mentally, etc. But what are some things that we could do a little bit better to help you all out on your end? Because as Mississippi high school coaches, it's our job to make our Mississippi junior colleges, our Division I programs, NAIA programs look a little bit better. So what can we do to help you all out a little bit better so you can have a more polished product, I guess I would say?
I would say we're in a time where I feel like kids they're more skilled. They have better skill set as individuals. I would say that because now you're kind of moving more towards where we have trainers, but they're not really playing a lot of 5-on-5 or getting a lot of court time. And how I developed as a player really came from my uncles just taking me to the court, playing pickup ball. You can't lose. If you mess around and lose, you might be sitting over there, or you might not get back on. Which also taught you a level of how to compete, because you had to learn how to win, because you wanted to stay on the floor. You wanted to be that person when you walked in. They wanted to pick you up because they understood, hey, you were going to help them stay on the floor. You were going to help you win. So you learn how to compete, but you also learn how to earn it. You know, you had to earn the right to get picked up. You know, you just didn't walk in there and say, hey, I want to play. If somebody could come in and take you down if you weren't respected, let's just call it like it is. And so I think today's time is more about they have developed an individual skill set, but really understanding winning, competing. And that's kind of leading me back to what I really want to focus on. I think in today's time, especially in our state, high school coaches can really focus in on mental toughness. And honestly, coach, I think that could cover a lot. I know everybody can't be an athlete, but I think if we could really tap into our athletes really understanding what mental toughness is, I think that helps the mental health side of them, you know, as well as that's helping them grow physically. All right, we tapping into their minds. So at some point, we're going to start helping them transform spiritually, for them really to just grow and develop into the people that we want them to be, that we see they can be, and helping them understand their purpose. But the main thing I see right now is just like this day and age, just they're mentally weak. And when they're being pressed at just a little bit, they want to quit. But that's really the time that you got to push forward. You know, that's the time where you're really about to break through something. Like you're about to get to the other side of something. If you quit right there when it gets tough, you will never see the other side. The other side of that's where the blessings are, you know, where the glory, at least we said God, we let God be God on here. So, you know, that, but just me kind of speaking on that spiritual side of myself, the other side of when we being pressed, it's like when God pressed at us, we got to press through. Once we press through, we see the other side of it. So I look at basketball the same way. You know, when we could help them develop their mental toughness, and they really start pushing and understanding, like, man, I can do this, because we have broke through their mentality. That's when the beauty come out of it. That's what we seen come out of this season. You know, it's just we pressed at them so hard. We didn't have a 7 kids in conference, coach. We went 11-3 in conference. We didn't have a 7 players. It was preparation. It was they were the 7 that stood through the test of times, and they allowed us to break them mentally. And when they broke, they understood, like, hey, they weren't breaking me. We didn't break you. Technically, we did. We broke the weakness so that you could really understand your strength. And so us breaking through that mentality was really us focusing in and chiming into those kids' strength, because then they start to feel invincible. Like we called them the dynamic 7. We were against teams that had 14, you know, they're trying to run us in the ground, and the kids were still, you know, they in third quarter, like, okay, you know. So, but like I kind of get goosebumps every time I think about it, because it was the glory of God. But just to see that happen in the way that it did happen, but it was really made out, man, we didn't let up. It was sometimes, you know, they cried. But even when they shared the tears, my assistant or myself, we didn't leave them. We didn't let them walk out of there feeling broken. We say, hey, look, you may feel like this is a bad day. It's a good day, because right now you're about to break through that wall. And that was our whole speech all year. Like when they got to one wall, we say, hey, you about to break through this one. So then now we got to get to the next one. And then we got to get to the next one. And so, but I think the main thing that I feel like you can start at the middle school level, at the high school level, it's just tapping into their mentality, just figuring out a way to build up their mental toughness. And I feel like once a kid build up their mental toughness, you can get everything else out of them.
Coach, I appreciate that, because the mental part is a very challenging part, because not to these kids' generation, not to their fault. But a lot of different things are made adjust. We make adjustments for them. Like I think about the educational side, where if you score a bad grade, you can come back and do a makeup assignment. One thing that kind of baffles me sometimes is that if a kid doesn't want to do an oral presentation in class, they got the option to not to do it or come back at another time when other people are not around. And it wasn't like that for us. And I understand it of the mental side of it, but things are made for kids not to be as tough. And I think that's the biggest thing that we see between our generation, maybe the generation before, is just the will to be able to push through instead of trying to find some way to get out of it. So coach, I'm gonna really take the mental part of it, because the mental health side is definitely a major thing, because at our level, you put that time on the clock and you tell the kids they got to run such and such many lines. That's when you lose a lot of kids, coach, because they just can't do it. And they look at you, but you remind them, you like, we're not playing checkers, we're not playing spades. Like, this is basketball, like conditioning and strength, that's a part of it. And what we're teaching you to help you fight through those things, those are things you're going to use all your life. And I know coaches, we say this all the time, because basketball, in my opinion, is just a replication of life. You have to be able to push through walls. When you got a young baby up all night, you got to figure out, you got to get, take care of her. And then you got to get up and go to work and make the next move. And that's probably recent on my mind, because my baby been sick the last couple of days, and that sleep been hard to come by. But I like that. And then, coach, I had 7 players. A lot of times when I do these interviews, I really hate that when people tell me the stories, I'm like, man, I would have loved to see that. And I really want to, hopefully this next season coming up and continue this podcast and continue to grow, I want to take Sand Hill on. I'm not Sand Hill, I'm thinking about incident earlier today, but I really want to take In the Sand podcast. I really want to take that on the road and kind of experience these things for myself and kind of catch that. But to do it with 7 players is amazing, coach. So that's an amazing testament to you and Coach Barty. All right, coach. Now I got a little bit selfish, and I got all my knowledge in early, but I would be remiss if I didn't allow you to just tell us and share with us who you are and your journey with basketball and how it has taken you to this point into your life. So, coach, I'm going to get out the way, and I'm going to allow you to be able to get the shine that you deserve. So talk to us about how this game of basketball has really set you up for success.
So, of course, my name is Hope Adams. Like, we just kind of go back to that part. I'm originally from Oxford, Mississippi, so hotty toddy. I know I'm down in the Mississippi State territory, so I have to say that. I played ball at Oxford High, so born and raised there, was there all my life. Straight out of high school, I went to the University of Memphis, and I played my freshman year there. And so this is when my path become unique. My sophomore year of college, I got pregnant with twins. And so right now I have 14-year-old twins. They're actually 15 next month. And I can't believe it, they're about to be sophomores in high school. But that kind of really, that was one of those moments in my life where I'm like what just happened. And I tell this part of the story because this is kind of where I relate to my athletes with. And I think this is the part where I understand that if you want something and you put your mind to it and you're willing to work at it, you can attain it. And it's not going to be easy, but you got to keep pressing. You got to keep pushing through. And so I became a mother by the age of 20. I was a wife by the age of 21. But I sat out a year. I played my sophomore year at Northwest Community College. We were North State champs. And then I continued on from there, and I finished out at Union University, which was a private Baptist NAIA school, which was one of the best experiences that I've ever experienced in life as far as basketball. And it wasn't so much of basketball, it was just the people I was around. It was a Christian school. I was around great people. They took me and my kids in. That's kind of where I really figured out, what being a wife was about, what being a young mother was about, and really grew in my faith. as there. That's kind of where it all started, to the point where I ended up spending about 5 years there after I graduated. And then I went through a divorce and decided to move back home and became a paraprofessional at my high school. And so I did their strength and conditioning, and then really just wanted to be around the game and help. And so we won a district championship while I was there. We're really good. Thankful for Coach Lindsay and Coach Orman. I coached under both of them. Coach Lindsay was there my first year, and he moved on to LaFed. And then Coach Orman came in my second year. And so had great experience under both of those head coaches. And then I moved on here and became an assistant coach. Uh, and really did that out of faith. Coach just said, hey, you know what? I want to be a college coach. And so was able to come here and become an assistant coach. And then the next year, I was able to get the head coaching job. Was not expecting it at all. But I do know that was God ordained. Those the footsteps that God had for me. I just was at the right places at the right time. And I was always one of those people, if God said move, I moved. Even it was a lot of fear there. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, sometimes how it was going to get done. But all I know is like, hey, God, you said it. So I'm going to go through the process. And I know you're going to fix everything else. And so, 8 years later, I sit here as a head, JUCO head coach at Mississippi Gulf Coast, and was able to get in here and really start to build this program. I had to really learn a lot about the game along the way, because just being a young coach and trying to figure out. And to be honest with you, I am just now at the point where we understand who we are, what we want to be, and what kind of kid we want our program. We're there. I looked at my assistant about a month ago. We came out of season. I said, man, it took me 8 years to get here, but that's growth. And I don't think we acknowledge the growing process enough. And that goes back to where our young people are today. I honestly feel like they're 18 and 19 years old and feel like they're already supposed to be successful. They're already supposed to be rich because they have social media. That's kind of feeding them these lies, basically, is what it is. And that's not real life. Real life, you have to work at some things. You have to build up on that thing. And it takes time to get to where you are. If you would have told me 20 when I was looking at those two babies, and now at 35 that I would be here, there's no way. But the one thing that I try to tell them is I didn't quit along the way. Every trial, everything that was thrown at me, everything that could have, made me just say, hey, I throw the towel in, I stopped. I use it as a building block. I use it as another step, not a step backwards, but that's just a step towards where I need to be. And really just keeping my trust in God throughout the process. And so that's kind of a little bit about me. I think that's kind of where my coaching style come from, just kind of where I'm coming from, just having to overcome and persevere and push through. That's kind of what we bring into the program. That's what we kind of demand out of our kids, because I don't care where you come from, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're middle class, you're going to face some things in life, and you're going to have to put your own big girl panties on and get through some of that stuff. You and Jesus, you and God.
Coach, that is true. And that's why I love sports, because sports helps you prepare for that. And kids think, well, yeah, I'm going to be prepared for it. You're not prepared until it happens. And Coach, I like your story. And that's why I appreciate the podcast, because looking at where you are now, nobody would have just naturally guessed that when you kind of got started or wanted to get started with your career, could have went sideways, as they say, or it could have been derailed, and you made a decision to persevere through that, because it's so many people who are in that position and they don't necessarily quit, but they choose something else. But you decide to keep on pushing for what you really wanted, and that says a lot to who you are. Of course, your faith was strengthened, and of course, your support system had to be pretty strong, because in that moment, that's major. And we may mention that later on in the episode, but having people around you makes a difference. And I know this is really outside of basketball, but for those who are listening, pray to God send you people who support you, because, and it's a cliche, but we all need somebody to lean on. So
Yeah.
I really like that, Coach, and I thank you for being transparent and sharing that, because this is one thing I also do appreciate the podcast. People see us as coaches who are, I think sometimes they look at us mythical characters. And what I mean by that is they look at us and they expect us to be perfect. And they don't realize that we have the same struggles, or we're fighting different things all the time. So sometimes fans, and that's what comes with the jobs, make our jobs a little bit harder, because they forget that we're a human first, and then we're a mother, or we're a child, or we're a daughter, and we're facing the same challenges, but we're trying to get to a particular goal. And it's so much better to just support than really trying to break us down, because everybody has a story. So I'm very appreciative that you shared their story. So, Coach, I like when you say you stepped out on faith, because a lot of coaches now are coaching in high school, and they want to step out and they want to be able to pursue their college job. And, what God has for you is for you. So I like that you shared that. Now, in sharing that, talk to us a little bit about that interview process. And again, I continue to kind of harp on this, and I talk about it a lot in most of my podcasts that I've been talking about, because it's good to learn. And if you haven't been in a situation before, you need that knowledge. So when you got to talk us about when you got that phone call, and kind of walk us through that interview process, because I know I had Coach Fletcher on 2 episodes ago, and of course he spoke very highly about you and very highly about your program, and he gave us some insight. But I'd like to hear your perspective as well on the interview process, and what brought you success, or what success tools that we can receive from what you're about to say to help us be successful whenever we sit in that chair and we interview to get a college job.
I would say this before, even getting to the interview, you have to see yourself where you want to be. And no matter what level that you are on, start operating in the level that you want to be on. So even with coming back home and stepping back in and helping with my high school, I was coming out of where I was training professional athletes kind of on that side of the fence, because my background was exercise science, so strength and conditioning. And so I had a skill set that I was like, hey, can I come in and do this? Can I come in and just strictly do the weight program? And let that kind of be my thing. Or if you want me to do the conditioning, do the conditioning. And so I was able to bring something there that kind of took something off the head coach, and brought it from a professional standpoint, because that's where I was coming from. And so I think the main thing is that even where I was at the moment, I seen myself where I am now, if that makes sense. Not understanding how I was going to get there, but just already operating at that level, dressing like I was already there. They always say, like, dress like the person you want to be, dress for success. Show that wherever level you are. I don't care if I would have towed the sideline up if I was a 7th grade coach. I ain't lying. I really would have. But just wanted to make sure that my presence was there, that aura was there. Like, when you see me the way that I needed you to see me. So that you just I was basically qualified before you said I was qualified. Now, as far as getting to the interview, it's mainly, I think it's like preparing for any coaching job. You're coming into a program, of course they want to win. So you really got to study the culture there, kind of understand the background of where the college is coming from, and then really put your plan in place of where you want to see this program go, how you're going to build it, what's going to be your recruiting plans. I know the big thing is we talk about the athletic side of it academically. We're at a 99, we're right at a 98% graduation rate as far as within the women's basketball program. Overall at MGCC, we're like at 94% graduation rate. And so we graduate kids as a JUCO. That's the main thing. You're going to come here, you're going to get your degree. But as an individual, when you run an individual program, you got to have an academic plan in place. What's going to be your requirement for your team GPA, the things that you could like study hall, what you're going to have in place for your weekly study hall, what's going to be the requirement of that, how you're going to get your kids to buy into that. So tying in academics and athletics because they can't play if they're not eligible. And really just kind of building up that who you're going to hire, who's going to come in and help you, what kind of program you want to run, what you want that to look like. So it's kind of like year 1, year 2, year 3, where you want to be, 4 and 5, kind of how you want your program running. And so it's like I feel like nowadays, high schools are taking their job seriously too. So when you're going in and you're kind of applying for that high school job, having a strategic plan in place of how you're going to help that program advance and getting that program to a championship level.
Coach, I appreciate you sharing it. I like that. And that was kind of some of the things that Coach Fletcher said when he was applying at the Hines job. But one thing I do like, you said dress for success. Coach said if she in that 7th grade at junior high game, she coming in there strong. But I like that, Coach, man, because and it's funny that you say this. My brother who's at Germantown, he talks about that a lot, about just dressing up. Like when we were at Pisgah together before he went to Germantown, he said, man, I'm gonna put on this sports blazer, I'm gonna put on some slacks, a tie, because I want somebody to see me, even though I'm an assistant coach. And he was really my lead assistant. We really were co-head coaches, and I miss working with my brother. But he said that when they see me, I want them to know that I'm prepared for this next spot. And that's something that him and we talk about often. I say, man, when you are at Germantown now, man, carry yourself, not trying to overstep Coach Love, your head coach, but carry yourself. So if Coach Love goes somewhere else, or anything happens, they can look at you and say, hey, this is the guy that we want. And to be honest, I didn't know that really when I was in assistant coaching roles. And I think I missed a few. Well, I know I missed a few jobs because I was playing my role, operating, but I wasn't taking my position to say, hey, I can still be an assistant coach, still not step on my head coach's toes, but let the building principal, the athletic director, hey, this is the guy you're looking for if something else comes open. So I'm really glad that you said that, operating in a job that you want. So, Coach, with that being said, so when you get the job, and of course, I know you're super excited about that. Talk to us now about, I really want to talk about how do you implement, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit within the summer program and how you kind of get kids on campus, things of that nature. So we can kind of fast forward a little bit. I just want to talk about how you have really put yourself in the program in a place of success. So I really, in this, I guess in this question, or in this kind of conversation we're going to have now, if you could just kind of talk about a couple of things about your implementation stage, kind of what the success looks like, talk us about your why, and then talk about the branding of your program. I know you and I kind of talked about this before we started, just the facility that you all have, and that's an amazing facility that you all have. So I know that's a kind of a lot that I said, but just talk about, I just kind of want to know about how Coach Adams has gotten the program to where it is, about how she implements things, how she brands how you brand, obviously your team, what does success look like, and just your overall just why in this game of basketball.
The first thing I would say is trial and error. Who we are today, where our program is today, is definitely not where it was when I first got the job. Now, that doesn't discredit anything that we did when we first got here and hit the ground running. We landed Daphne White, who was a 5-star post player. We also had Kayla Simmons, who was a high-profile high school player that was at Brandon High School. And so we got Brianna McCullough. We got some kids to come in that just bought into the vision of where we said, hey, this is what we want Gulf Coast to look like. It's not where it is right now, but if you could just believe in the vision and come in, you could get us going. And so those group of girls, like, I'm forever thankful for them, because when we were at the bottom, they believed in the vision and they got the vision started. I know that first year we didn't win a conference game. Those kids came in and decided, hey, I want to be a part of what you're trying to do. We believe in you. And we went 9-5 in conference, and we made it all the way to the regional championship game, just strictly off kids who believe. And then we've been rolling ever since. COVID hit, and I think COVID just kind of took a toll on everyone. It was just one of them things. We were unprepared. We didn't know. And we're really just now working out of COVID, to be honest with you, Coach. We are. We're just now lining things back up where you got to go to class. You can basically implement those rules of, hey, don't miss study hall, don't miss class. You got to be at breakfast check. You can't opt out of anything, or you can't use COVID for an excuse. And so having that discipline and structure back in place without having COVID through at you is really kind of what's helping turn the corner as well. But I will say, but where we are right now, I think COVID taught me a lot as a head coach of when you're in a moment where things can be taken away from you just within a moment, where you just have no power, you have no control, and then you just have to figure it out. But it also gave you time to step back and see things and really process it. It helped me build a new perspective of how we really want things to be done. And I think the biggest thing that I have learned as a head coach that has gotten this program to where it is right now is that you can't, if things are not going the way that they're supposed to be going, you can't be afraid to lose. You can't be afraid to lose. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to say this. Because you got to be okay with it, especially if it's at the point where you're going to lose your program. And I say that to say this is that we basically came in this year. This is the way it's going to be done, because the way it's being done is the way you're going to have to do life. And if you don't do life that way, you're going to fail. And so you can't be afraid to lose people along the way, because if you stick to it and you're doing it right and you're doing the right things and you're preparing your kids, the people that stick around are going to be the ones that need to be there. And so I say this is that you can't be so afraid to lose that you forget how to win. And I think in the beginning of my career, I was afraid to lose. I was so geared towards winning. And I think, we were winning. It was going. Then COVID came. We kind of went through a little transition period where we weren't winning as much. And then boom, we kind of get to this year. And it's like, okay, we revamped, re-energized, rejuvenated, went back to the drawing board, put out a new plan. And then boom, the program, we had 7, this is the best conference wins, far as, hold on, let me pause myself right here. We went 11-3 in conference. So that's the best conference record we have had since I've been here. So I would say this: when you're implementing anything, make sure that you're hiring the right people. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you as a head coach. You're going to be only as good as the people that you place around you. And that goes down to your assistant, all the way down to the players that you recruit. Now, I know at high school is a little different. You just kind of in a district and you get, who shows up. But in our case, we do have that little bit of luxury where we get to handpick who comes into this program. And so it gets back down to, you were saying about that support system. Your assistant coach, that's your support system. Your managers, that's your support system. The players that we're recruiting, that's your support system, as well as we are theirs. And so you got to have the right people in your program from top to bottom. And the main thing, it goes back to less of me, more of them. Because if they understand it's about them, whatever reflection I need is going to show anyway. But I've always been the type of person that the people around me, I want them to grow. I want them to expand. I want them to become the best version of themselves. And so coming into this season, that's really what it was about. I let Coach Barty do her thing. I let her operate in her gift, whatever that's it. I don't get in her way. I told somebody last week, she brings me her own workout schedule because that's what she does. What I look like making her workout, and that's what she does, And so I let her, operate in her gifts and give her her own power. And so, and we work well together. And that kind of trickled down to the kids, as well as with the managers, everybody around us. And so we have just created just a joyful environment. Of course, we're all women and you're going to have some tough days. We are a team. But as far as wanting to be there, I see the difference in the kids, the program, what we have. And that's just coming down to where we are right now, just having the right people around, right players around, right managers around. Of course, we got great facilities. We have great administrators at Gulf Coast. They support us to the fullest. I have a great president, vice president, AD, our trainer. I can go on and on down the list. Our strength and conditioning coach, all the way down to, like the football coaches, the softball coaches, the baseball coaches. Like, we are a family. We are a team. And I think that is contagious when everybody can just really work well together, operate well together. But I will say this, just big kudos to our administration for how they have just transformed our campus. We have a brand new cafeteria. We have a brand new dorm. We have, all our fields are turf, coach, soccer, football, baseball, softball. And so being able just to provide the athletes with top-notch facilities, like our learning lab, they get to eat nice, they get to live nice. You get to actually be selective with the type of athlete you bring in as well, because you're understanding what you're providing them. But it also just shifted our program, not with just who we're able to recruit, but by me being able to shift my mindset of where I really want the program to be. And it's not just so much of Mississippi. I want this program to be on a national scale. And it's not so much about Coach Adams. It's about everybody that's connected to Coach Adams, because I understand how important it is for our players to get out and be able to go play on the next level. And not only just be able to play on the next level, but be able to select where they want to go. Because we're preparing them academically, athletically, and making sure that they're attractive to the next level coaches. And so right now the vision is big. It's outside of ourselves, it's outside of our state. And really it's more about just making sure that Gulf Coast is looked at like a prestige JUCO. Like, we want to be on that level when it comes to women's basketball.
Coach, I love all of that. Like, I'm definitely big on the branding part. That's one thing that's slowly trickling down to high schools. And of course, some of our high schools that maybe our larger programs, they're doing an amazing job with it. But those things make a difference. And it's exciting to be able to hear the facilities, the turf, the place for kids to go study, they can eat. Those things make a difference. And I was thinking about asking Coach, what are some of the things that you tell young ladies to get them to come to the Mississippi Gulf Coast? But again, just listening to that kind of answered that question for me, because with our generation of kids now, facilities mean just as much to them as we love them, because you want to be able to go to a place where you like being around the people that you are. Your environment looks nice, it looks beautiful. And that's kind of what you said earlier. You dress for success, but the school dresses for success. You can bring individuals in, and it's good to be able to see that you all have I love family, that you have a family-like atmosphere at Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I see you a lot of times when you tweeting, you're not just advertising, or you're not branding or promoting just your program. You're recognizing obviously a lot of coaches in that program, and that means a lot. I do want to go back onto something that you said, Coach. You're not the only one, man. A lot of us, we're afraid to lose as well, because losing is not good, and we all know that. And sometimes when you lose, you can lose continuously at a high level, and that gets scary, because that's when your kids will really fall off from you. So you're definitely not alone in that. And I was like that too, but you are right. And everybody knows that sometimes you got to lose to win. Obviously, as the kids say, I try to stay cool. You got to take them L's first, but then you will eventually find it, because I think it's how our DNA is. You learn more in losses than you do in wins. But as coaches, we would rather take them W's and learn somewhere else. But you do find that. So you're not alone in that, Coach. You're not alone with that one. My season didn't go as well And that's why that kind of resonates to me, Coach, because we only won 4 games this year. And a lot of it was for a lot of different reasons. But one reason is that couldn't get kids to necessarily buy into what we were trying to do. And that was so discouraging because I knew the talent that we had. Obviously, it wasn't the best talent, but I knew what we could be if we continued to build throughout the season. But the kids fought me so much with that. And I was at a crossroad and I just said, hey, we're going to either do it this way or we just got to do something different. And of course, when I chose something different, I didn't think that we was going to lose the next 8 games by 30 or so. But when you get rid of all your seniors and you got a freshmen and sophomores, it's something you got to live with. And it took me a minute, Coach. I ain't gonna lie. It was some long days. I was questioning it. Coach, you get on that big yellow bus and you go into these games 2 hours away and you know you don't have a chance to win. But I had to remember that these kids are watching me.
Right.
All their teammates walked out on them. And they looking at me and say, Coach, do you really believe? Because you say all this stuff, but Coach, it ain't but 8 of us on this bus. And, we've been losing this whole time, but we stuck with it. We almost got into the playoffs because that same team that beat us by 30, we only lost by 5 points, and we had a chance to kind of win it at the end. So that gave me a little bit of encouragement. So it's good to hear you say that, Coach. So, Coach, if you're not encouraging anybody, you're at least encouraging me because, Coach, and when you only win 4 games, it's a challenge, especially your first year. But I'm looking forward to really doing some things differently. I still got a young crew. They still young. We had one senior coming and still 10th and 11th graders. And Coach, to be honest, if me and you play, we probably be the tallest people on the team. And I got some guys, so we don't have a lot of height, but I'm looking for the Lord to really bless us. But I can look at some of the encouraging things that you said. And the biggest thing I heard, it just takes a little bit of time. And you continue to just the plug at it, it'll get better. So I thank you for that. It was something else. I had this written down, but I'm gonna ask it now. Of course, Daphne White was a major player for us in the state. I know she just graduated from Jackson State this weekend. And obviously, and I'm saying this because, again, I don't know her personally, but I kind of saw her matriculation through high school, through college. Started off as a high recruit, obviously went to Mississippi State. Obviously, things didn't work out. And so then she lands at Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I saw that. And I was thinking, again, I didn't know you either, but I'm such a basketball sports guy. I love a good story. I love just the story behind the story. And I said, I'm gonna watch and see how this plays out, because I know that has to be tough. And that's when I really started following your program. And really, when Daphne was there, you all did amazing things in kind of the year that you talked about. So, Coach, I would say this, and I think most people kind of don't understand Daphne either, because what I'm about to say, I know she's a personality. I heard Coach Reed say that before. I know that she has and people say a personality and they make it sound negative because we all got personalities, but she has a lively personality. Again, I've never seen her. I respect her game, and it's an amazing thing to see. And so it made me think about this question, and you did a great job. Coach Reed did a good job. Coach, how do you manage, I guess, the high recruits? How do you manage kids that got so much personality? And how do you manage people who say you can't do anything with them? Because the people really counted Daphne out, because they said when she come to Gulf Coast, no way she'll find her way back to it. How did you do that? Because some of us are dealing with players on the high school level who feel like they're bigger than whatever, and they can't even hold a torch to what Daphne did and accomplished. So talk to us about how you did that, because I knew it probably wasn't always easy, but I knew that just the kind of young lady that she was, because I saw her at St. Martin, I saw her play in the All-Star games. I knew that something was special about her being a player, and not just her, just any other player. Like, again, I try to represent Jackson State, so I just know a little bit more about Daphne, but you could talk about any other player that may have a similar story, but just kind of give us some insight into that.
I would say pre-COVID, definitely, JUCO was made for those players who, signed up and it just wasn't working out. And so instead of sitting out a year, they would come back JUCO. They'll take those 2 years to get their mind right, or a year, or whatever that is, just go back through the recruiting process to make sure they're making the right decision before they get back into another 4 year. Daphne is a personality, but I will say this, like, you basically have to be around her and get to know her and understand her to understand her. People try to kind of get their perception of social media or whatever little glimpse of whoever they see just based on what you're allowed to see. But when you're actually able to build a relationship with somebody and get around them, you start to kind of understand them more. And that's kind of like you say, hey, this is the reason for this podcast, is that people can kind of see, the stories from behind the scene. And so you just have to really be around her to understand her. But she does have a really big personality, but she also understands when you're being serious with her. And you kind of just got to put your foot down, like, as far as that. But she's not the only one. I think that's all of them. I think when kids in general, players in general, especially these days, when they're being put above a team, coaches are going to have a hard time coaching because your team know that. And this is something I had to process this year. Is that at the end of the day, it takes 5 people plus 2 or 3 subs to get it done. You got to get it done. And if the rest of the people don't believe in that person, I know everybody has like a go-to person, but they have to believe in that person just like the coach believes in that person. If they don't believe in that person, then you can easily make a player like your problem player. Your best player can easily become your problem player if everyone is not bought in, and if the team don't understand the vision and why we're here. I think once they understand what we're playing for, what we are playing for, what we are trying to accomplish, and in the roles that are developed out of the we have to respect the roles. And we just gonna respect each other. And I think moving forward, just kind of like we're speaking of Daphne, but I'm going in general right now because it's a lot of players out here these days that's like that, where we have to reel them back in. Like, hey, no, it's we. Sometimes I have to sit them down and be like, look, you need her. She needs you. Y'all need each other. You can't be successful without her. If you go get 20 and we lose, your 20 go void. If you get 15 and pass the ball 5 times to her and she get 10, now you got, 15, maybe 5 assists, a couple of rebounds, she get 10, maybe a little 3 assists or 2 rebounds. And now we're building the team camaraderie. We building confidence, we building togetherness, we're building and really more getting back on that side of the fence. Cause I think basketball has became like this one track mind where this one player get blowed up. And let's be real, sometimes they really not that good. I'm very honest. Like, you're really not that good. You're not there yet. And they really need to understand how to be selfless, and how to have some humility, because the moment when they realize it is when you struggle to coach them. That's what I'm getting back to. The moment that reality set in that, dang, I'm not that good. Yep. I'm not as good as I thought I was. And now I got to go work. I've never had to work. Like, and they kind of get stuck in this moment where they really have to make up their mind. Like, do I really love basketball? Do I love it enough to press through this moment? Because the truth in that case is a hard pill to swallow, especially when you've been told, you were bigger than everybody else instead of working for it. And so I think now just the athletes that we get in, because of course you want to recruit the best, kind of helping them understand it, helping them grow as individuals to understand being humble, having some humility, understanding that this is a we thing. You come in and do what you do. And if what you do grows out of we and you earn the respect of the 14 other people around you and they see you like you see yourself, now you have done something. But if you only see yourself that way and your teammates have a problem, then we have a problem. And so really kind of helping them understand that. And so kind of piggyback off of, because I just kind of want to speak as our players in general. Our best teams have come from when they understand we over me. I've had some really talented teams, but I would say this team might have not been my most talented team this year, but they were our toughest. And they bought into we over me. They did. Now I had our bumps in the road, and you know, sometimes, egos get in the way a little bit, but just overall what they were fighting for, they stayed focused in on the task. And so we're building up off of that moving forward. We had the freshman of the year, Samari Fields, who was supposed to be another one of those kids that was supposed to be hard to coach. Best kid I ever coached. She go to class, she do what she's supposed to do, show up to workout sometimes, on time, great kid to be around, pleasant. We had the structure, we had the discipline in place, and we hadn't had any issues with her. And I mean, honestly, if we don't have her on our team, do we win? I don't think so. But that don't mean the other 6 wasn't important. They were just as important. They played a critical role as well. I could say that about Jasharia Hunt. Like, if Hunt wasn't here, do we win? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So each of them are important in their own way. Just kind of like Buckley, we got her from Meridian. Anytime you get something from Faulkner, you're gonna get you a good player. You're gonna get you a tough player anyway. But she has some double doubles as a 5'6" guard. If we don't have Todd, do we win? I don't think so. Here, so you get where I'm going here. So where Fields was freshman of the year for our league, Todd was just as important as Fields. But they both understand that as well. And so being able to take those players that, might have the accolades or getting the recognition and still understand that this player is just as more important, I think that's where teams have to get back to. And I think when you are struggling coaching some of those athletes, I think you're struggling coaching those personalities because how those personalities have been molded.
Yeah, coach. That's why I asked the question, because a lot of high school coaches, we're dealing with that, because you have this culture where kids say, "Oh, I'm carrying the team." Like, I'm not sure how that started to grow and develop, but a lot of players think that. And I'm hoping that some high school coaches have their high school kids listen, or let them listen to what you just said. Is that it's about the we. Like, it doesn't matter. And I tell my kids this, and I could be wrong. But I try to tell them, most college teams, if not all college teams, they got people that can score. I mean, that's not hard to go out and find somebody that can score. That's very easy. But the things that I feel like that they're looking for is going to be a team player. Are you going to be tough nose? Are you going to get that rebound, take that charge, be dependable, have accountability? Like, those are the things that you have. Body language, those things are important. So you having this mentality, I'm going to carry the team. Yeah, you might, get you 30, 35, 40 a game. But if you are not doing the other things that makes you a winner, you're going to be successful. And I tell kids this all the time, and I know they don't know really about the story of Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan, his first few years, Michael Jordan was getting all he wanted. And it took a guy for Phil Jackson, obviously, implement his system, the triangle. I know that's not popular anymore, but he told Mike, yeah, you can do it all by yourself. You can. But why not get everybody else involved? Get some love, makes the game a little bit easier. And of course, we know what it ended up being. He took them from winning 0 championships, and of course, you get 6. And not saying it's all Phil Jackson, but what I'm saying, it's a mindset that Michael Jordan had to be able to understand that it's bigger than just MJ. I mean, MJ, right, he had scoring titles, he was doing everything. But when he bought into what was trying to be implemented into him, it was a good job. And it was a change because his coach, Doug Collins, he let Michael go on. And Doug Collins was a great coach. Philosophy was just different. But Phil Jackson was able to look at him and say, hey, let's try something different. So I really like what you said. So I wish kids, it's good. Sometimes it's going to be good for isolation basketball. It's good for you to do the thing. Like, we're not disagreeing with you on that. But you're going to win a whole lot more in a lot of different things. And I think if our kids are really watching, I look at Golden State. Golden State, to me, again, I'm a Pelicans fan. Everybody knows that. But I respect what Golden State is doing because they do it together. Everybody knows Steph is the man, but you can just see it's a team thing. Like I look at Looney. That man, he had about 20 offensive rebounds the other night. Like, give me a guy like that that's gonna do it. Give me a young lady who's gonna get me 20 offensive rebounds. Like, he's important to the team. So let's please understand that it takes more than just a person to get it done. And I thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being transparent with that as well, and just spotlighting that in that manner of it. Again, shout out to Coach Faulkner. Yeah, them girls at Meridian, man, they do a amazing job. I tell this story. I don't know Coach Faulkner personally. I heard her talk, heard her speak, but man, she again when I first saw her, I didn't realize I didn't know her statue. But again, when you see her, man, she is feisty, man. Her girls get at it, and man, she moved like she's 6'6", man, probably nowhere near 6'6", but she makes it happen though. So it's good to be able to see her. Hopefully I can get her on as well. But Coach Faulkner does a good job for our high school young ladies. Man, Coach, I'm enjoying this. I got so many questions I want to ask you, but I don't want to keep you here all day. So I'm gonna kind of work it out. But I'm excited about so much you got going on. Where I want to go next. Let me ask you this, Coach. I learned this about you, and then I want to learn that I learned this part about you, but I want to learn more about it. Talk to me about your role as chairperson that you have for I guess for is it what is the role specifically that you have? Is it a chairperson for the
Basically, it's for men and women's basketball. I do have a co-chair, which is Court Wright from Northeast on the men's side.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's the liaison for the men, I'm the liaison for the women, but we both come together and kind of work together as the chairs for our conference, which is the MAC. So we work for Mississippi, just to kind of, if it's basically we communicate with the commissioner about how we want the league to move, if it's scheduling or a rule that we want to implement or a rule that we want to take out or something that we feel like need to be changed, that we've been holding on to since 1975 and now we're in 2023 and it's just kind of aggressive. I will say this, our league, we have become very progressive over the last few years. The way that Mississippi was kind of made up, we're moving forward, and we're moving there quickly. And so I'm excited about where our league is going. And so I would say this, just the role as a chair, like I said, it's the liaison between the coaches and the commissioner. The commissioner also kind of speak with the ADs. It's some meetings that we might be in those meetings as well, kind of basically just fighting for our sport. The biggest thing is me as on the women's side, I just really want to fight to make sure we're just fighting for Mississippi, getting Mississippi the recognition it needs. And sometimes that's just making sure that as coaches that we're being progressive, making sure that the right rules are in place that's helping us, get more to that national level. Like whatever that is, that's just gonna push the league. And if it's a coach that feel like, hey, we need to do this, we need to move this, they'll kind of talk to me about it. We take it to the commissioner. If it's something that we want to move forward with, the coaches get together. You know how they go. You create a motion, you vote on it, they go to the ADs and, just kind of get things going, get things in place, implement things, and just be the liaison between the coaches and the commissioner, and with the ADs. And so I'm excited about this role because I'm excited about how our league has really been advancing, and how we're moving very, very progressively. Like we've been playing 23 regular season games, so we just went to 30. We were at 3 out-of-staters, and so this year we're going up to 4. So we have gotten a lot done within the last couple of years. We were playing North-South, and now we just one big conference. And so just those little changes right there that you're seeing happening, it kind of starts with, the chair communicating with coaches, getting the heartbeat of the coaches. Of course, everybody's gonna have a different opinion. Some people, want to progress. Some people might want to, keep things how it is. But just really coming to that middle ground and making sure everybody understand why we should move this way, or okay, if you feel like we should stay that way, express yourself. But it always get down to the vote. So the majority is always going to win.
So, Coach, were you nominated for this position, or somebody voted you in, or how did you get in this position?
So Coach Andrews, who was at Holmes Community College, so she was the chairperson before she decided to step down. Of course, she have her daughters, her older daughters already in college, but she have her other two daughters is coming through, and one of them is a really, really, really good basketball player. Even though the oldest daughter is playing college ball as well, but she basically just reached out to me and felt like that I would be good for the position. It's basically like just somebody who's not gonna put themselves first, that's just going to keep the league within itself in mind. And so when you're sitting in this position, it's mainly about, okay, it's about Mississippi. So it's about Colin, it's about Southwest, it's about Jones, it's about Holmes. Like it's not just about Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's about everybody that makes up Mississippi. So it's about the league, and when we make those decisions, just to make sure that it benefits the league. So it needs to benefit Coach Banks, as well as Coach Adams. And so basically just being fair across the board, hearing everybody out. But like I said, at the end of the day, we get to kind of bring it to the table, and it's going to be voted in. Whatever we do is voted in, which I do like that. Like a decision just not made off of a person. So everybody get an opportunity to say yay or nay on anything that we do. But my job is to make sure that even if we are bringing something to the table, as well as Corey's job, is just to make sure that it's about Mississippi. What's going to help our league in general push forward.
Yeah, the reason I asked is I just figured that, to have that position and have to work with your competitors, I feel like, people will have to really respect you and definitely like you and appreciate what you're doing. So I just really would just want to give you kudos, because that speaks volumes when you have somebody who's kind of speaking and representing for the lead. So again, that's cool with that, Coach. Coach, I guess give me one change that you would like to see in the women's game.
Like as far as just JUCO, like, or like where I am right now.
You go either way, Coach. Do your thing.
I think as far as what I would like I think the women's game has really advanced. It's nothing like as far as just the game I would change about it, because I feel like as far as women's basketball, we've came a long way. And I think this year, Final Four, this year, NCAA tournament time kind of shown where we are as far as just women's basketball. I think that we have like it is moving quickly, very progressive. And I think women they're earning their respect. Like I was just amazed. I was at the WBCA clinic just to kind of see, like just everybody networking and what's going on out there, and kind of what's going on behind the scenes when you're just around everybody and networking with them and learning and absorbing everything. And that was my first one. But when I got back on social media and kind of started connecting with people that was there, everybody was saying like that's the best one they've had in a long time. And I think it's just mainly one could be coming out of COVID, but I think one of the reasons is just to see that like women's basketball is being respected. People showed up. Like they really showed up. I think they had more views than the men's Final Four, you know. And it just wasn't about South Carolina. I don't feel like it just wasn't about LSU. It just wasn't about like Caitlin Clark. She just had her moment. And even though like that was just a very controversial moment, and I hate when we get in those moments where I think we took the light off of what that moment should have been about. But I mean, in my eyes, I'm just gonna say it, she is the best women's basketball player in the nation right now. And that's because she had to do it with limited help. The big girl was really good, but not only did she do it that way, she did it while actually getting her players involved. She figured out a way to make people around her good and shine, even though she was the best player. And so, like, to take that light off of that moment that she was having just as a player, which I think all of us coaches can look at it in that perspective, was really disheartening. But just to kind of see just how LSU, went from the laughing stock to actually winning the entire thing. And kudos to Kim Mulkey, because she's kind of, one of my favorites. Of course, I have a few in my bag, but she's definitely one of my favorites. But just kind of see how old school came in there and did stuff the old school way and and got it done. And so, as far as just seeing things change in that way, I just hope we just continue to progress. Honestly, now I'm not in favor of the portal. I think right now it's just a little bit out of control. So I would like to see the NCAA come back and kind of put some type of regulations or some restrictions on transferring, because it is affecting high school kids and it's also affecting JUCO. Because it's kind of like now you can go in the portal and get a JUCO kid because you got like a kid that might be transferring that's a junior or about to be a junior, she's a sophomore. And so I think it needs to be some type of restrictions to where we're protecting all levels of basketball. But you want to transfer one time, I get that. The name, image, and likeness, we've been saying for years, athletes need to get paid. I think they just made it legal. They were still getting paid anyway. Now it's just, a legal way for them to get paid, especially on the men's side. And on the women's side, we weren't fighting with that as much, but I do like the fact that women are being able to benefit off that. But I think they just made that a legal way just to pay players. But I would love, if anything changed, I would love to see the portal be regulated better to make sure that we're still giving those high school kids and JUCO kids an opportunity. Because some of those people in the portal on transfer 3 or 4 times. So I think it needs to be something in place to where a kid that really deserves a shot is not missing a shot because you just got, it's easier to sit at a computer right now if you had a 4-year school and just look who hit it. Go look up the highlights on Synergy and see if you want them in your program, versus still kind of grinding it out for the high school kids and JUCO kids.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was put on notice. I heard another college coach say that, yeah, with the portal, NIL deals, it really just took out high school because when I guess what you're saying, I guess what I saw when I was able to understand it, if Coach Adams is recruiting high school kids and we're in the same conference and Coach Sanders is getting kids straight out the portal, naturally I'm going to have an advantage because I'm getting a kid that maybe already polished, maybe a little bit older, has played college ball experience, and you getting a kid fresh out of high school. So that creates a disadvantage, and you hate it for those kids because, I mean, you said it earlier in the interview, high school and JUCO and NAIA, those are very, very important. And you got to be very careful, like you said, because sometimes when you started to take away from small areas, a lot of times you almost delete those programs, and that's something that we want. So I really like that you said that. And I heard Nick Saban talk about it with Coach Saban, and Coach Sanders said about regulating the portal, regulating a lot of even the NIL deals, making that, because right now it's kind of free fall right now.
Right.
One thing that made me I wrote this down when you were talking, and we may talk about this a little bit if you want. I thought about what Asia Wilson kind of displayed when she was working out in her facility with the WNBA, with the Las Vegas team. I thought about what Candace Parker said about never really having enough facility. I think about Angel Reese from LSU, when they asked about going pro, she like, man, I'm making money here in college. I get it. I never thought about it, obviously, because I'm a male, not a female. But to be able to see some of the disparities between women and men, and to be honest, I've always seen it, but it's a little bit personal, I guess. Now I have my daughter, so I'm kind of thinking about those things. And I can admit, be transparent, I never really consciously thought about the female side of it and all the things, because sometimes when it is no excuse, I'm just being open. Sometimes when you focus on yourself and what you got going on, sometimes you forget to look across the street and let me see how they got it. Right. So to be able to see Candace Parker say, I'm excited to have my first practice facility, to be able to just to see that it's amazing, but it's also tough to hear at the same time. So I really hope that part changes as well in that manner of it. But it just made me think about that when you talked about those different things about growing the game, women's basketball, and just at the level where it is. So that's amazing to be able to just kind of see that. Coach, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then I'm gonna ask you just a little bit of basketball. I'm gonna get you into the fast break questions. I'm gonna get you out. And I'm taking notes, and I always take notes. I take great notes. And coach, I'm looking at everything that you have to do. I'm looking at the recruitment side, and you and I talked about this off camera. Man, Coach Adams has been killing it in the recruitment game, just recruiting some kids from state championship teams to bring that championship culture. So you're doing that. You got your social media running. You being an advocate for everybody in your league for Mississippi. Obviously, you're raising kids. You got a family, coach. How do you balance it all? Because I know you don't have a twin hidden somewhere, so I know you can't pull that person out and then let them do you rest. So, coach, how do you get it done? Because coaches, I know at high school level, we kind of get stressed out, but of course, you're doing it at a different level, and you got so many roles, coach. How do you do it all, coach?
Let me just say this. One is definitely the grace of God. Most definitely. But I'm trying to see, you know what? I can't sugarcoat it. I think, his favor really, really came down is when he basically brought me Jason. Of course, I've always been able to manage it. Like I got to get it done. So I figure out a way to be at league football games, go recruit, and then as well as be a coach. Of course, I have a great family. If it's anything that I needed to do for a long, extended time, my mom would come down and get the kids where they needed to go. When I first came down, I have a younger brother. He's about 4 years younger than me. He came down and was here with me for about 2 years, the first 2 years to help me out. And then he was actually working on campus. So that kind of worked out as well. But I will say this, over the last year, just kind of being more in a committed relationship myself, without saying it. So without saying, uh, uh, like what he brings as far as, I don't have to worry about the kids. The twins get up with him every morning and go to school with him. And so my daughter is playing for him, and then Jay played football, but they're all at the same school. So my biggest thing was always worried about, okay, my kids getting here and from here, and then having daughters as well. My youngest baby has always been glued to my hip. So she done spent a lot of nights on the road, sleeping on the bus on the way back from games, in the back seat of the car. She done had a lot of those moments. And so she's kind of like the ride or die. But now she's getting older and will be able to transition with them as well. And so I would just say, kind of moving more on that side of my life, with Ashley kind of being merging as that complete family. And he's really came in and balanced that out tremendously. And so I waited for about 7 years, and I'm glad I waited. I might not have been fun to be around in them last 7 years. I'm not sure, but I think I'm pretty pleasant to be now. And so definitely glad I waited, just because of, like, he's a great dad with his kids, and just a great guy overall. But, just the kind of what he brings to the household, as well as me, like he supports me fully, because he's a coach, I'm a coach. So he understands from a different level if it was someone that wasn't a coach or wasn't around sports. And so sometimes, I'm playing on Mondays and Thursdays. They're trying to figure out how to support me. They play on Tuesday and Fridays, and I'm trying to figure out, how to go support them. And so now the household has really been balanced. But I will say this, just kind of leading it over to where I am now, he's taken a lot of that burden off. Because before then, sometimes I'm like, how was I doing it? But I will say that it was the grace of God. I had a plan. Everything was like strategically laid out. Kids got to be here. And just the support in the community, especially with my son. Just them getting them back and forth to look league practices. And, we were just fortunate to have great people. God placed great people where they needed to be to kind of help through the process as well.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Shout out to my man Jason, man. He's a big supporter of In the Sand podcast, and man, he always gives an encouraging word. So that's amazing to be able to see, and just amazing what he's doing. And again, just to give him a little shine, to be able to for you all to be able to make that work and make it happen. It's a beautiful thing to be able to see. In spite of anything going on, you all can make it work, and you take pride in each other, and that's amazing to be able to see. You take pride in what you do, and you take pride in what you got going on. And again, you make love look fun, you make it look exciting. And it's good to be able to see it. It's almost like love and basketball, just on the coaching side of it. So y'all making it happen, man. So again, shout out to my man Jason, man. Coach, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit basketball. That I'm gonna get you out of here because I know I changed this whole script around, but I do want to say this, but let me say this before I forget, before I get too far gone. I wanted to say this too. Coach, I know you do a great team camp. So I know a lot of our coaches are watching, especially our girls basketball team. Coach, you do a great team camp, and you may say something at the end. So if you're looking for a good spot to go, of course, when I was coaching girls and boys at Pisgah, they will always talk about your team camp. So again, check Coach Team Camp out. Do an amazing job with what they got going on. I've always heard it's great competition and it's first class. So if you're looking for somewhere to go, please check out Mississippi Gulf Coast and what they got going on. I'm gonna say these last two. I get back to what I want to say, Coach. I guess to keep it simple, because I want to keep you all night. Coach, what is your best offensive action? Like, what do you go to? Like, obviously, we all know this as coaches. We got our plays when it gets to that last 3-4 minutes of the game. You got to go to something you put in your best player's hand, or you create some action. Coach, what's your best offensive action? And then I will say this: what's your favorite style of defense? And that'll kind of keep it simple and kind of tie everything together. Because of course, right now when we're recording this, is playoff basketball time, and I enjoy watching the games, especially the last few minutes, because I'm looking at the sets, but I'm also looking at those actions that get scores. And one guy I like watching is Devin Booker. I know he's a coast guy, being at Moss Point, but I just like to watch. I love watching Chris Paul, and I like watching Kevin Durant. I watch Devin Booker get to their spots every single time, and the actions that's being ran. So, talk to us a little bit about your favorite offensive action to get a good score, and then talk to us a little bit about what you love to do on defense.
Okay, so to be honest with you, my favorite offensive action is when we have basically just locked some people up. And then all of a sudden somebody shoot through that gap and boom, we out to the races in a layup. So that's my favorite offensive action because I am a defensive minded coach. But as far as like just we're fast break, so we want to get up and down the floor. We play free. We like recruits. If you're listening, we are free. I like to let my girls play. We got a 30-second shot clock. If I'm sitting over there having to, kind of figure things out every minute of the game, I need them to be able to make quick decisions, see the floor. And so we allow a lot of freedom. We're moving more towards to our bigs. We want to be able to handle the ball, shoot the ball, be able to put the ball on the floor and make decisions from basically free throw line extended. And then we want to be able to make basically them hit the trail three. So now if you got a shot blocker or a bigger, slower big, she got to be mindful of, do I run to the rim or do I have to really stop right here at the free throw line because now I got to pick it up. Now, if you do that, we always going to have very quick, shifty guards that either you got a guard on the three or they're going to blow past you and go get a layup. And so I guess with that being said, without saying too much, just kind of moving into that 5 out. Back cutting like little motion thing going on. Because I don't know, I was like, were they trying to figure out what we were doing? I don't, but Kind of moving more into that style to where we just have 5 weapons on the floor at all times. Because what I have found, 5 people are not going to play defense at the same time. And so with us being a defensive minded coach, Marty is that I'm defensive minded as well. So with us, we basically think defense first. So when we're breaking down offense, we thinking like, okay, what would I do to basically stop it? Like from that standpoint. But we're so detailed defensively, to where we know we're going to guard you. And to really be a great defensive team, that's why the training is different, because you really gotta be in some shape, and you really gotta break their minds for them to be great defense. Because that's just, man, you just gotta be a dog. It's like it's me and you. All the way down to the point of like, where to be in help, taking charges, like the whole 9 yards. Like we're gonna get into. But we also know like people are not gonna guard us back that way, because some coaches just love offense. What the deal is that we're gonna guard your offense. Can you guard us back? No. And so we go, we just more of that. We're gonna run. We're gonna get 5 out, and we want 5 weapons on the floor at all time, and we just waiting on somebody to close out wrong because
we come to get you.
So if you get where I'm going here, I don't want to go too in detail, but that's just kind of our mindset. We want to have fun. Like I'm having fun thinking about it. And so we want to be just a fun style, like, where the girls kind of realize they really have the advantage. Once it really clicked, like we have the advantage, and to see them just kind of hop the ball, like it's like one more, because you see people scrambling, but you kind of work on it every day, so you know where to be and how to get that stop, but you're kind of knowing how you're setting them up, because you're thinking from the reverse side of it and kind of seeing them transition threes, get knocked down, because you don't really know like where to go, like who I'm trying to find, where I'm gonna stop. And then the person that you might be trying to run and go stop this girl because she's dangerous, and all of a sudden this girl hit the transition three, and then it kind of just get to this point like what we like, coach, what we gonna do? And so we kind of build off of that this year. So just more like a fun style, just like kind of 5 out motion. Really, our kids got to be able to make decisions. And I think that's kind of lost art, especially kind of on this level and on down, like decision making, like knowing where to get the ball in offense, and really being able to read the defense and knowing where defense is coming from, so you could see your open man. I know we had to talk a lot about that. Like, you're not actually looking at the girl you're playing with. Look at the defense so you know where she is. Like, that's how you're going to identify how that play build up. And so just really more of a fun style of basketball, fast-paced basketball. We let them play free. Now, when we got to reel them in, of course, we reel them in and we have some sets. But as far as that's more of a 5 out motion, kind of chin set. Kind of moving more into I love Stanford. I watch them. And so kind of like that big girl, we kind of want to move more to that style. Like our big girl come more finesse, where if you go into that goal, she can knock it down, the mid-range, the 3, and just really put everybody at a disadvantage.
Coach, I like that, man, and I'm loving what you're saying, because what you're saying is Coach not trying to give y'all too much. So what she's saying is people really watching the show and listening. So Coach said, I know too many people watching In the Sand podcast. I don't give you too much. So hey, Coach, I thank you for the pat on the back. But be serious though. It kind of reminds me. I'm not sure if you're a fan or you kind of mimic what Arkansas, but Arkansas kind of, when I was listening to you saying, I was thinking about Coach Neighbors and shooting that transition 3, and he got so many different names for it, and he plays in space and he really attacks, and so that kind of made me think about that. So I'm looking forward to watching you all play. Of course, I like to read and react on the offensive side, because it's what you said. The read and react is not the most popular offense, but what I really get my guys to do is, because what you said, X's and O's are great, sets are great, but sometimes it goes out of the window. And I know, especially with you all on the shot clock side of it, but can you read what the defense is doing? And we do the same thing, Coach. We work on, when we drive baseline, this guy should be here, this guy should be here. We work on sliding corner and other different spots. So I really do like that, Coach. So, man, I'm looking forward to seeing an offense. All right, Coach, let's get to some fast break questions, and then we'll get you out.
Okay.
Of course, I know some of our faithful listeners, of course, they kind of know what this section is, but just in case someone is new to the podcast, we kind of just ask these questions, kind of some random basketball questions, just to kind of bring a little bit of excitement before we get into our conclusion. So, Coach, the first question that I have for you, and you talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, Coach, what's the best team that pulled the upset but didn't win it all? And the two teams that I'm going to select the Mississippi State team, the year when they hit that game-winning shot against UConn, but ended up losing the championship game. Or was it Iowa this year who didn't necessarily pull it out against LSU? So what was the best team that didn't win? Was it a Mississippi State team, or you think it was the Iowa team this year?
I'm gonna have to go with Mississippi State because it was just like, I don't know if we really thought they were going to beat UConn. I think in hopes of like just really being a fan here in Mississippi, we felt like they could do it. But I'm gonna have to go with Mississippi State on that because it was unexpected. It was that game. It was that game winner. It was the dagger. So I'm definitely gonna have to go with Mississippi State. The reason why I wouldn't pick Iowa, because this is just the analytical side of me having to explain this, is because the way that they kind of went through the tournament, I think it was more strategic. They just strategically just kind of moved their way throughout the NCAA tournament. They were very prepared. You could tell that their coaches were game planning. They went in every game with a game plan, and they stuck to it, and they succeeded, with the game plan. I think with the LSU, which I said they weren't going to be LSU because Moki is a defensive coach. And I knew that she was going to guard, and she was able to guard all 5 spots as well as the 3 ball. But I also knew she had the guards to be able to where you had to respect them and guard them as well. Plus Angel Reese. And so I just think Iowa just had a great showing. I think their program just, even though Boulder been there a long time, I think it just brought a whole new respect to that coaching staff and kind of understand they do a really great job. They were game plan, they were prepared, and they kids locked into the calls, and they just stuck to the game plans. And then LSU just had a heck of a night. They just decided, hey, you know what, we're here, we're going to win it. But definitely gonna have to go with Mississippi State with the buzzer beater.
That shot was amazing for Mississippi, man. That was a great moment for us for Mississippi. Next question, Coach. When you're on the road recruiting, what are you listening to, and then what's your favorite snack?
A lot of times, to be honest with you, I listen to a lot of gospel. Usually that's kind of like the quiet time. So sometimes when I'm on the road, if I am going up, sometimes I might not have any music on. When I'm coming back, I kind of put my gospel music on. That's kind of like my little time where it's just me and the Lord time. Yeah. But so I would say on the road recruiting, I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm going to listen to gospel, but I do like country music.
That's cool. Who your favorite country artist then?
I like Florida Georgia Line because they got a little Nelly in with their stuff, so I can roll with that.
You got you a good blend in there. What about your favorite snack though? So what you snacking on?
I don't really like sweets, but I do have a thing for like a Pepsi, like just a cold Pepsi. But I don't really do sweets. I can't really say peanuts. Peanuts. I like peanuts.
All right. So, Coach, this, of course, is our most popular question on the fast break question. And I'm going to give you 2 parts of it because, again, you're on the women's side. So the most popular question so far has been NBA all-time starting 5. And, of course, we got to show our women some love. I want you to give me your WNBA starting 5. So I'm getting 10 players out of you. So, Coach, what's your starting all-time greatest or all-time lineup for the NBA and then also for the WNBA?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the NBA first, and I'm gonna, say the best for last, which are my women. I gotta go with MJ. Okay, I gotta have LeBron. Like, okay, in this case, he's gonna have to be my point forward though. And then I'm gonna go with Kobe. I gotta have Shaq because gotta have me a good big man. And I might have to go on and give me a little bit of like I'm gonna have to go with Magic.
Okay. So I got you down. I got you with Magic, got you with Kobe, LeBron, MJ, and Shaq. Not a bad lineup at all. Again, I keep saying it over and over. Again, MJ is on everybody's list. I haven't ran into one person yet that don't have MJ. LeBron James is right there, and I've been saying this. Kobe has only made the list about 4 times, Coach. And again, it's and I think people love and respect Kobe. It's just sometimes the lineups just get hard to get him in there. But to be honest, he's only been in there a few times. So I know my Kobe people, they're like mad at it, but hey, the list is what it is.
I would like, what, Kobe kind of slipped my mind. So honestly, if I had to go with it, I would say Kobe over Magic.
No, you got Kobe on the list though.
I would say, I think I'd say, okay, so I said Mike, LeBron, Kobe, Magic. And okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make sure I could guard. I'm athletic enough to guard everybody, but then I'm gonna be really hard to guard.
That's true though. And to be honest, you got what you need. Maybe shooting might come a little outside three, shooting might come a little issue, but you can make it up with MJ doing this thing. All right, what about on the WNBA side? We haven't heard this question as much. So what you got WNBA?
Okay, so definitely gotta take Sue Bird. Okay, I gotta have Diana Taurasi. Okay, I gotta have Brittany Griner because I gotta have a big girl. I'm taking Lisa Leslie as my forward. And then I'm going with Simone Augustus.
But that's a real good list, though, and I hate to kind of throw a damper on it, but man, Brittany Griner just don't look the same to me, man. I really, it goes back to that mental health part, and that makes me really sad, though. The dreads were really that was her staple, man. That was really her staple. And I know she cut them off. I really pray for Brittany that she is okay mentally. But when I saw her and she didn't have a dreads, and sometimes coaching, of course, you and I we move the same way spiritually. Sometimes you can just sense something on people. You can fake it all you want, but when you really in that word and you know it and you see past the person, that hurts me with Brittany Griner, just seeing it like this. So I'm praying everything is okay. But again, your list is Sue Bird, Taurasi, Brittany Griner, Augusta, Lisa Leslie. That's an amazing list to be able to see that in that manner of it. All right, Coach, 2 more questions. What's the best basketball arena that you have seen so far? I know Gulf Coast is going to be Mississippi Gulf Coast is going to be number 1. But what's your best basketball arena that you've seen so far, or the number of facilities? Because again, you got a lot of experience. You travel, things of that nature. So, what's some of the best basketball arenas that you've seen?
Definitely got to put us at the top because I'm here. So that's branding. We have a beautiful arena. Like I am proud to say that I am a Bulldog when it comes to that arena. I guess kind of knowing where we came from to be able to walk in work every day and sit in there and go in that office and kind of see what we have provided for our men and women's basketball. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Outside of that, I'm gonna say, you know what? I really like Ole Miss, the Pavilion. I like the setup of it. So I would say they're definitely at the top. Like as far as like where my mind is now. Now I've been in a lot of them, but that's like the most recent like the newest arena that I have been in. So I'm gonna stick with them.
Coach is a faithful of her city, school, town. You see what you got, Gulf Coast, and got to go Oxford, the Pavilion. But now I'm just messing with the Pavilion. It's a beautiful campus, man. I mean, excuse me, beautiful gym facility. It felt like they built it just right, man. It's the lighting. I remember those banners, how they got the concession set up, excuse me. I really do like the
Yeah,
pavilions.
because you
Uh,
kind of game.
yeah, you can. You really can. And it gives you that professional NBA vibe a little bit. So
Yeah.
I do like that. Coach, this right here is a conclusion we'll go into. We named the conclusion the last shot. So again, for those maybe new to the podcast, we allow our guests to be able to take the last shot, and this opportunity for them to be able to kind of pretty much conclude the show, and they can say about anything, take as long as you want. So Coach, go ahead and take the last shot.
So of course I just gotta promote our school. Mississippi Gulf Coast is like outside of just our athletic program that we're top 10 in the nation academically. And so it's just a great place if you're kind of just starting off and want to do your first 2 years at a small setting, community colleges setting. We have Perkiston campus that actually have dorms. Our Perkiston campus is our athletic campus, but we have 10 locations. And so we offer a variety of programs where, we have a nursing program, we have a PTA program. Just found out that we have occupational therapy as well that's doing really well. And so we have great professors, we have great resources. Our teachers are great. Just as far as just coming in and getting a great experience as a student in a great learning environment, come to Mississippi Gulf Coast. So that's my spiel on that side of the fence. Now, if you're an athlete and you want a great experience, you want to be coached by great coaches, great softball coaches, great baseball coaches, great football coaches, as well as men and women's basketball, of course. But I can't leave golf out. Our golf, they just won a regional championship and they're headed out to nationals. Our tennis, they just won a regional championship. Great tennis facilities as well as Coach Blackburn does a great job. And so I guess I'm just on here with my conclusion, just promoting Gulf Coast. But just as far as what we just provide facility-wise, the program, the resources, I don't think people know enough about it. We are a great institution. And I don't say that lightly. We are a great institution. Not only, we're not here only for athletics, but if, a parent, you got other kids in your household, a coach, you got kids at the school that just want to move forward and get their education. We are a great institution for them to come start and get that head start.
Coach, that's amazing to hear. Coach, again, you sounded like an athletic director, so I'm gonna go ahead and speak that into you. You putting them over there. You got them here. You got them here. You got it here. So, again, Coach, this was a great interview. I'm glad to have you on. Glad to have an opportunity just to be able to talk to you. And again, I'm so appreciative of the podcast because it allows us to be able to almost get to know some coaches that we see from a distance. And I'm just fortunate for it. Thankful for your time. Just thankful to be able to continue to communicate with you throughout the years, pick your brain, because I think anybody can tell just listening to you, like majority of all the coaches we have on here, you got a very bright future. There's a lot of great things coming your way, coach, and you handle yourself well, and you do it the right way. You do it the right way. You love people. And every day you try to represent God in a positive light. So I can't say enough about Coach. And again, make sure that check out Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Coach will hit you with that great promo, so she got it going on. Obviously, her team is doing good. Got very, very close to doing something powerful this year. When I was doing my research, I saw how the progression. So I'm excited for next season. So then again, also too, don't forget about a team camp coming in June. Obviously, Coach, you want to throw us the date for in case we.
Yes, I got to promote the team camp. And so we've only been limited to one gym. And so now we have 2 gyms. So we're excited about this upcoming team camp. Our high school team camp will be the 9th and the 10th. For one day, it's just $250 per team. For 2 days, like if you want to come both days, it's $350. But we also have an overnight option. We just kind of testing out that overnight option, just let coaches come in, let their kids experience the campus. We got great dorms, so we're not going to put you in an old rundown dorm. It's going to be a really nice dorm. You get to eat in that new cafeteria I was just talking about. stay in them nice dorms I was just talking about, and you also get to play in that arena that I was just speaking of as well. And so we're just excited how we could build that up to a few more nights next year. We just want to give coaches the opportunity to come down and test it out. So if it's anything that you're interested in, please contact myself or Coach Barty. We would love to have you down and host your team.
So make sure y'all check it out. And then some of us high school coaches, we know sometimes you go to team camp, you get in that gym, ain't got no air sometime, and that just kind of happen. But see, it's for the high school coaches, they get fancy when they go to team camp because most of us don't have air in our own gym anyway. So it's crazy for how we kind of, we get a little fancy when we get on college campuses. But you go to Mississippi Gulf Coast, you got your good facility. So again, make sure you check it out. Again, thank you all. Make sure you please subscribe. Make sure you please share. And again, keep tuning back in. Make sure you continue to support Coach Adams and all that she does. And I said this a couple episodes ago, and I'm going to say it again. As coaches, we need your prayers. We need your help. But also financially, we need you as well. And what I know about all coaches is, we get paid. We get our money, but the extra resources that we can use on our kids to grow our program is so beneficial. So again, I'm going to try to make sure I keep saying this on every episode. Support your local high school, support your local junior high, support your local JUCO, support a college program. Even if you send a case of Gatorade, as I said earlier, a lot of programs are starting to try to do nutrition as a part of what they do. If you send a case of protein bar, now again, just don't send anything random, communicate with the coaches and see what they need, but it may be something, or just sending a check for $50, something that can help and it makes a difference in kids' lives. So support your local coaches. Again, support all your coaches on In the Sand podcast. And until next time, as I always say, be nice to someone and be kind, and we'll see you on the next episode.